Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Ted Stewart. Thank you so much for taking the time today out of your busy schedules to listen to this short webinar. Today we're going to be speaking about getting ready for IEC 61508 certification. Now, a quick background, the reason why we created a presentation like this, we've noticed, especially in 2015, many new customers that have never experienced or never gone through the process of IEC 61508 certification are starting to approach us. And also, we're also noticing even companies that do have certifications, people are starting to want to certify products to be the first ones out there, things that have never been certified before. And so today, we wanted to discuss and share the differences between the different certifying bodies out there and why exida does what we do. And at the end, of course, I'm going to open it up to questions. So if you do have questions like we did in the first session, please feel free to ask those questions. And if there is one that we can't answer online, we'll make sure to gather that information from the expert for that question. And all these questions will be gathered into a PDF and will be emailed to each person. So you'll have all the answers to the questions that are asked in the first session and in the second session. A little bit of information about myself. My name is Ted Stewart. I help manage the OEM product certification. I help manage the CFSC program. I'm an account manager. I also assist with the end user business, and I'm also the deputy quality manager. So I wear a lot of hats, and today's hat really is going to be in the product certification side, and I'm really excited to share this information with you. As you know, I like to start my presentations off just sharing a little bit of background information about exida, and then I'll dive right into today's main topic. But today, so exida's capabilities, basically, if it's anything to do with functional safety, cybersecurity, or alarm management, we can do it. So we have people always asking us, are you guys able to do this or that? And sure, I mean, it could be as little as, hey, I need a book. So in the knowledge-based sector, you see in there in the triangle, if it's a training, if it's a software tool, or even if it's just asking questions, we can absolutely do it. If you're looking at some work within the life cycle, you see there in the middle tier of our triangle there, absolutely we can do it. And then obviously the meat of our organization is the assessment certification. And that's what we're going to be speaking about today. We are a worldwide company. I see here on my on the attendee list, there are some people here that are newcomers, so I did want to inform people that yes, we are global. You'll see here we have many main offices. More regional offices are popping up all the time. One of our newer regional offices is exida Japan. You see there on the right-hand side. So we're very excited with our growth, and we're looking forward to the future offices that are going to open. And there are some that we can't list publicly just yet, but do know that more offices are popping up than we can even hold on to. So the industry focus with exida, as you see here, we do automation, process industry, automotive, nuclear, and there's actually so many more areas that we're touching now that more customers are looking for SIL certification in multiple areas. We do have a suite of products and services. If you go from left to right, the first one is in consulting for IEC 61511. We also have ISO 26262, which is automotive, alarm management, and also you see down there ISA S99, which is cybersecurity. We do have engineering tools such as Excellencia. We do have Safety Case, FAMIDA, SIL Alarm, SIL Stat. Many of you are familiar with Excellencia. That is the most common, the favorite. A lot of manufacturers' customers love this tool because I can help build systems kind of on the fly to see where they would stand. We have product certification, which is what we'll talk about today. We have training. A fun fact about training is basically every single week we have a training presented someplace in the world. And that's kind of exciting for us to see how we've grown. Reference materials, we have the most public reference materials in the world in functional safety, and then also the CFSC program. One of the newer features of the CFSC program is we've now opened a branch for CACE, CACS, which is Certified Automation Cybersecurity Expert and Specialist. Kind of branching on cybersecurity, we also are now starting to implement cybersecurity within our functional safety assessments. We've already had customers, requiring this information where they'll get maybe a smart device certified, and within that audit that we do, we'll also include some sections on cybersecurity to make sure that they're protected from getting impacted or hacked or intruded upon. And so that's why, with that growing threat, we're now able to help control. Okay, well, we're finally getting into the meat of our presentation, where I'm going to start talking about the IEC 61508 certification. Well, the first thing you see here is, when a third party does an assessment against this standard, there's two main things that you're looking at. You're looking at a detailed analysis of the engineering processes to determine, one, systematic capability. You're also going to look at a detailed analysis of hardware design and design margins resulting in random failure rates. And this is the most important part, in all failure modes. Okay, I'm going to touch more on that later in the presentation, but keep in mind that when you do speak about failure rates, there's many failure modes that, if you are in manufacturing, your end user is going to want and need when they develop their systems. Exida has the world's largest failure data set. We have over 150 billion unit operating hours of field failure data. We have the electronic and mechanical component failure modes. We also have the product level failure modes, and everything that we do, because the ultimate goal with Exida is we want the world a safer place, and so we publish everything that we do in all of these different books. Why? Because the thing is, why not? We want to make sure, that's why we hold these free webinars, we have all the technical papers, we publish all of our failures, because we want people to know the information out there, because now more and more people are looking to, or more and more organizations are looking to develop their own certifying bodies, and some are in it just for marketing reasons. So we, as the leading experts, want to make sure that the technical information stays sound, it stays true, and if there are other organizations that want to become a certified body, we want to make sure they do it correctly. That's all we care about. So what did we do? We went ahead and last year we developed a survey. And on this survey, we basically paid somebody to say, look, go out there to anyone in functional safety, manufacturers, end users, and we want you to poll these people across the world, and we want you to let us know what they're seeing out in the market. Because the only way we can get better is from third party, from finding from other people, because if we think we know what to do, you're wrong. That's why we even have our own advisory board of people out in the world every single day that see everything. They let us know what we can do to get better. So let's go in and start talking about this survey. So when selecting equipment for use in a safety instrumented system, what criteria do you accept to meet the device suitability requirements in IEC 61511? Good question. Well, as we know, and this was not a surprise to us, the IEC 615 certification has become the #1 equipment selection requirement, which is great, because why? People want third-party certification. There's many organizations out there that self-certify products, so be careful of that. And then #2 was, and globally across the world, end users, manufacturers, they want to see an FMEDA report, which is great to see as well. Let's talk a little bit about the Exida certification scheme. And I do want to pause here for a second. I do see some questions filling in. If you don't mind, I would love to answer those closer to the end. So thank you so much. Please keep them coming, though, and I'll answer every single one at the end. So Exida has an established scheme with added requirements beyond IEC 61508 family of standards based on the advisory board recommendations. Some people, when they see this, they said, why? Why would you want to make IEC 61508? It's already such a thick standard. Why would you make it thicker? Well, that's a great question, and the reason why we do this is because, as everybody knows, a standard only comes out maybe once in a decade if it's lucky, right? So things change in the world, and when things change, you need to change. You need to adapt, and as a certifying body, we must adapt to survive, and that's why we've developed this advisory board very early in our development of this company, Exida. And now, because of this, these are some few bullet points of things that have changed that go beyond the standard. You have the FMEDA analysis, right, which is the accurate failure mode data based on 150 billion hours of field failure data. You have the publish of the failure rates, not just the PFD average. Keep in mind that a lot of organizations only publish PFD averages, which aren't really useful to the end users. They need these failure rates. We analyze and have publications of the false trip data. We do the maintainability, design complexity. We now do cybersecurity audits. Practical proof test is required. You'd be surprised by how many people do not require proof tests, and many more as you see here. And this is just another note just to state that, yeah, we do have this advisory board that goes beyond IEC 61508, which provides the toughest technical requirements of any certification body. Now, I say all that, you know, because I don't want people to think, oh, well, if you go to exida, they're way too hard. Well, that's not necessarily the truth, okay? And I'll go into more detail as to why we have a tougher scheme, but why everybody benefits from it. You'll see here from a conventional certified body compared to exida, we do have that tougher scheme. We have something called a safety case, which is a complete assessment. What that safety case is it's a tool that we've developed that has over 600 requirements from IEC 61508. What we do with this tool is, depending on your product and what SIL rating you would like, if it's SIL 1, SIL 2, SIL 3, we then can shrink those requirements down to the only requirements you need to meet to pass IEC 61508. So if it's a proven and used product, if it's with changes, without changes, all of these different things come into play to see if you need to have these requirements met. Okay, so we have that as well. We are an accredited certification body. There are many organizations out there, many other CBs that are house certificates. I'll explain that more later. And all these categories throughout the presentation, we will be going into more detail. I'll quickly go through more of these. You know, we have the realistic failure rate predictions, whereas other companies only have manufacturing warranty data for PFDs. They use cycle testing results for failure predictions. We publish false trip failure rates, whereas others only publish the PFD number without any false trip data. We do the cybersecurity analysis, which, as you can see, most other people haven't gotten to that point yet. Their certifying bodies haven't even considered anything like that. So let's move a little bit more into, let's dive into more of the meat of these differences between the different conventional certification bodies. We did speak about this slide already, how we are a tougher scheme. However, I want to point out that we don't make our scheme harder solely to make it harder. We only make it to basically mold around what people are seeing out in the world. So the manufacturers and equipment suppliers, they must, okay, now these people, to get through our scheme, they must provide more data and more analysis. And more analysis must be done. However, the result of this work is better information for those choosing equipment and designing those bespoke safety instrumented systems. Now, we have to update our scheme requirements approximately once per year to keep up with the current schemes and standards. And believe me, we get audited every single year. We don't like being audited. However, we just know the benefits from being audited to help stay and maintain and stay strong in the market. Here's a very interesting quote that we're starting to collect. We never really used to collect quotes, but we didn't realize the importance of them. And so recently we started collecting them, and here's one here that we enjoyed. It said, we previously used, and I want to keep everything pretty confidential. I don't want to just give out other names, but we previously used a conventional German CB. They used to be asking the wrong questions during the audit. The focus seemed to be on bureaucracy. You hear that all the time. Exida, they went deep into the fundamental safety concept issues. And that's very important to know that it's nice to see that people appreciate it, because there's so many things around politics and even just doing things for marketing reasons. And people are getting away from the fundamental concepts, and it's nice to have someone see that. So, and the reason for that is why? Well, the people that we hire have been living in the product development world their whole life. And so we bring those people on. It's an easy transition. They already know all the key issues that are out there in the world, and we can quickly implement those into our scheme. So what values are important for you when determining if a certification provider is acceptable? Well, here you go. We picked the top 6 in lieu of time here for this webinar. I decided to do the top 6. One, everybody wants to see, the most important thing was technical experience, which was great. Second, they want the person to be accredited by a national body. Third, reputation. Fourth, they want the experience. 5, completeness of assessment. And 6, failure rate data. Okay, so the first one, let's go ahead and we'll speak on the technical experience. There was a follow-up question to that survey, and that one was, from your perspective, please rank the top 5 providers based on this technical experience. What we resulted was here. Yes, we're number 1 in technical experience, which is good, but it's not where we want to be. As you see, there's some others that are close to us, and the reason why we weren't thrilled to see us just in first, but not by a landslide, was because of the fact that we publish everything that we can. We have all the technical papers. We we have trainings around the world. Anything that we do, any book, we want to make sure we want to get it out there to everyone, so everybody has this information, so that everyone can learn. Because there's so much in functional safety, and there's so many things that are important that we just can't release this information fast enough. So we're constantly learning ourselves. So yes, we were happy to see that we were number 1 technical experience, but we weren't happy to see that we're not way out in front. So why is it that we are where we are? Well, it's because we are on all the ISO and IEC committees, technical committees around the globe. We want to play a big part in there so that we can help improve all of the standards. We do hold, like you're on it now, thank you so much. We hold weekly webinars with a yearly attendance of over 3,000 global safety engineers, and it's solely because we want to help out. We teach courses on cybersecurity, functional safety, and alarm management. We do this there it is, on average once a week globally. And as I've always pointed out, we've published over 600 technical papers on safety, security, and alarm management topics, and the list goes on. And I think we're working on another one that's going to get released tomorrow as well. So we just keep growing. We love it, and we're just going to keep getting the information out there. Okay, let's move on. And thank you. I see some more questions coming in. I do see them there, so don't worry. I will address those. Number 2 is global accreditation. All right, let's talk about accreditation. Well, because of some of the newcomers on here, I wanted to go out and explain accreditation. Well, you have a national accreditation body. What they do is they audit and accredit a certification body, which is someone like us, exida. Certification bodies should operate any product certification program under these standards. And you will get these slides, so don't worry about memorizing or writing down all these notes. You can make comments, but yes, you will have these slides. You have to write these numbers down. But we operate under IEC 17025 and also IEC 65, or also known as ISO 17065. Now, we are fully accredited per ANSI, who is the United States IEC liaison, as a certification body for cybersecurity and also, as people know, functional safety. Certification scheme. Okay, so what is that? That is a certification body will establish this scheme, which lists requirements and standards as well as any additional requirements beyond those stated in the standards. Okay, an advisory board. As I spoke, that is one of the most important things that we could ever have as a company, because advisory board should be established to provide input on the certification scheme. And why is that? Because as we grow, schemes change. An example of a scheme that occurred would be, just this year, or actually it was last year we started speaking about it, but cybersecurity. Nobody ever thought to add cybersecurity within a scheme. Well, this year we went ahead, had our audit, and we talked to ANSI. We said, look, it's a growing need out in the market. We want to be certified and accredited for cybersecurity. And that's one of the newer things that we've done. Accreditation confirmation. This one's important. Not many people know about. A certification body will show the accreditation body logo on the certificate for all work done under the accredited procedures. All right. So when our product certifications are done without accreditation, this is called a house certificate. All right. So here I'll give you a quick example of a house certificate. You notice one on the left is from us. You see the bottom half left-hand corner, we do have that ANSI logo, and I'll go back real quick, but you'll see also that we have a number 1004. That is the actual number that we are within their system. Look on the right-hand side, this company are house certificates, which is, and you have to, and I always say to each their own. A lot of people do things because they have a name and they can get away with a lot of things. Some other people go different routes. So not one that's better than the other. All I know is that if you're a accredited certified body, you have somebody else making sure you're doing everything right. If you have a house certificate, you have no one else telling you what to do. You just do what you feel is right. Number 3, reputation. All right, let's talk about that. Well, Exida has authored most industry references for automation, safety, and reliability. Okay, we maintain the world's, and publish, that's very important, we maintain and publish the world's largest failure data set, and we've authored the most comprehensive books on functional safety in the market. And there's a few examples. Actually, a really great thing is the SERH book you see there. We've actually just released the newest version, and at the printing station right now. We're really excited to get that book out because we do have a decently large waiting list for that book. So if you ordered one of those or pre-ordered, you will be getting it very shortly. They are getting printed. Reputation, again, some people don't realize, but we were co-founded by our former TUV manager, Rainer Faller. He helped start the whole functional safety certification concept. Exida has many former TUV engineers on staff who have been able to take this experience further and apply it to a more robust certification methods. That's actually how even Exida started, was, you know, as the certification bodies were coming out and as time was changing, things were changing in not the most optimal way. And so Dr. William Goebel and Rainer Faller, they realized this and said, look, we have to do something about this. And that's when Exida was started. And it's a very interesting story, not for this webinar, but we right off the bat, we started off being a global company, having 2 people, one in Germany, one in the United States, and that's when everything transformed. That's when the advisory board started as well. We learned about, or Dr. William Goebel created the FMEDA, and it just grew from there. Now, this was a fun slide to look at. This is just a handful of the organizations that we've started helping. You'll see here, I see a few people that are on this call. Actually, you'll see your company right there in front of you, which is fun. I apologize if the image of your company is not bigger, but I can work on that. I could squeeze some other people. The web listing of safety equipment is really neat. This first started off as something for us to keep track of our certifications. The advisory board loved it so much they said, look, these need to be public so that end users can now benefit from the certified products that are out there. So we started listing them, and then all of a sudden this tool became a massive tool, and it became a marketing tool, where now we even post other certifying body certificates on here as well. So we don't even just list ours. We list any that we can get a hold of. Why? Because when an end user is looking to build a system, we want them to build the right system, not just what Exida is certified. Yeah, sure, we've done over 90%, and you'll see here over 90% of the certifications for process industry field equipment. But our main thing is, look, if someone's building a system, let them build it right the first time. And we know, because how we operate, that we are not in any risk of losing any type of business. So that's why we do what we do. We want the right information to get in the right hands, and so that's why we post everything. And it's turned out to be an amazing tool for all end users. So now every single time we do a new product for somebody, we will immediately put it on here. And if we were the ones doing that certification, you'll even get a link. Once they click in here, they see the report, they see the certificate, and they also get a link directly to their own personal website so that person can get more information to see if they need to purchase that valve, that actuator, that gas detector. Let's move in. Oh, actually, we're still talking about experience here. This is a cleaned up version of our process that we go through when someone wants IEC 61508 certification. It starts at the very beginning, training. We don't really like to take people through a process without them knowing what's going on, and that's one thing we strive in and we appreciate is we like to train you along the way. So there will be training once you step into it, because a lot of people don't understand certification right off the bat. We then move you through a gap analysis, which is basically, it's kind of the, I'll jump up a little bit to the baseline safety case, but we basically open up a safety case and we start filling in the gaps for you. Okay, so anything that we see that you're missing at the very early stages of certification, we let you know. So there's no real surprises. And in the meantime, while we do that, we also are going to look at your element, your device, and we're going to break it down to its little nut and its bolt. We're going to break it all out to components, and we're going to create an FMEDA to let you know the failure rates as well. So once all these gaps are closed, you can't come down, and this chart, process chart here, flash the flow chart, we close the gaps. We create the baseline safety case, which is more process documents. So another benefit is once you do one project with us, the next one's going to be far easier, far less time, and you'll get it certified, like I said, a lot quicker and for less money. That's important. Because what the baseline safety case is it's basically all your process documents, design and development documents that aren't really necessarily product specific. So now we can use those documents on the next go around and already have that basically done. So all we need to then do is focus on your product specific documents, which then go into your final safety case. Once those are finished, you get you get audited, you go through the assessment, you get your assessment report and certificate, and off you go. Yeah, and then the final thing is every 3 years we'll go in to make sure that nothing has changed. Your process and products are good. You're still following and complying to IEC 61508, and you keep moving forward. Oh man, this one, when I started working for exida was my aha moment. I'm going to read this to you and then I'm going to explain why it was. But it says, we estimated a functional safety project after getting a much better price from a conventional CB. Basically, you know, we both quoted and we came in higher, okay? Which is okay. That happens actually a lot. So continuing on with this quote, the work from our engineers was estimated to be between 1,000 and 2,000 man-hours. After discussing the process with exida, we estimated 200 hours maximum. The overall cost using exida was much less. So this was my aha moment, because when I started working for exida, you know, I did start notice these proposals because I have to do them quite frequent. Yeah, we'd always come in higher. You know, whether it's 5,000 higher, 10,000 higher, 15,000 higher. And I was like, and I always talked to Dr. Goldman like, look, you know, why do we come in so much higher? And this is when I heard this quote and I got a hold of it, and like I said, it was my aha moment. Why? Because let me go back here. If you look at this process, what other certifying bodies do is it's kind of like that get your foot in the door approach, right? So they give you a low price, but here's the kicker. You now as the manufacturer have to do the work. They tell you what you need to do to a point, and they say, okay, I need an FMEDA from you, or I need you to depict this product and let me know the failure rate. And then they'll go back and say if you did it right or not. If you didn't, they charge you to do it again, right? And then they say yes or no. And it's the same thing with meeting the requirements of IEC 61508. If you have a process document or you don't have a safety manual, they just basically say no, and they make you redo it, and the costs increase, and it takes a lot of time. And so what Dr. and Reiner did was they developed a system to where we do the work for you. Sure, it costs a little bit more up front, but in the long term, we teach you along the way. We still do it. You learn along the process, and everything becomes so much more streamlined. And our certifications take between as short as 1 month to average of like 3 months, whereas learning other certifying bodies take, I've heard some horror stories from other ones. But let me move on, because that was just something that I really enjoyed hearing, and it feels good working for this company. A really great quote, which was quite interesting when I talked about taking a while, was they said, we have been using exida, but our sister company was using, we'll call them XYZ. I described our experience with exida. Then I asked the engineering manager in our sister company about XYZ. He said, oh, it was much harder to get a certification from XYZ. I interpreted that to mean XYZ is tougher technically. But when I asked why, he reported that XYZ did not respond to their emails. They put us back in the waiting queue every time one of the documents did not pass. We were not assigned a dedicated engineer, and it took months to get us a final certificate so they finished everything, so after they had passed. And that was just another moment with, I felt this person's pain. This is troubling. We get a lot of people coming to us asking us if they can have a dedicated engineer, and all these things. And by all means, we only take in the work that we know we can do, and that's how we're always going to be. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, I just love that subject. Assessment completeness. This is what we were talking about with the safety case. So we use a safety case approach to the assessment to ensure that a complete evaluation of all requirements in any scheme. Like I said, we start off with over 600 requirements, and by the time we figure out what you want, what the product is, and what rating you need, that gets minimized either drastically or minimally. And so, the tougher skill level you want to achieve, the more requirements you have to meet. But like I said, once you get through it one time, you're good to go. You already have the process in place, and it's so much easier the second time, or should be, I should say. exida requires the assessment report published on the exida website. Like I said, free of charge, but that was the SAEL website that I spoke about, the Safety Automated Element List. That has become such a great marketing tool for anyone that gets certification from us. Moving on to the sixth subject here, we have the failure rate data. Love this topic. exida developed the FMEDA technique, which predicts failure rates and failure modes of a product. I never realized the importance of the FMEDA and all the different failure rates until I started talking to end users personally. Now, exida, we do have the world's best set of field failure data with over 150 billion unit operating hours. This is from the process industries, which it was created and created a calibrated component failure database to use this FMEDA analysis. We have validated the FMEDA results by frequent comparisons with the end user field failure data. So what happens is every time we do a certification, we get field failures from the organization. Well, we put these all into a database. We accumulate them all the way, each component, like I said, the nut, the bolt, the spring, each one of these items get a failure rate assigned to them from all the information we've gathered through the history. So we have 150 billion unit operating hours for these small components. Now we take that and, that's the granular approach, but then as a whole system, we now can give you a true failure set of numbers, failure rates for that product. And many other organizations, all they do is they simply look at that one organization's manufacturing returns and say, okay, well, due to these manufacturing returns, here's your failure rates. That doesn't categorize anything or help specify, well, what if that product was at a price to where it was cheaper to just buy new than to get it replaced? Well, then you never see those failures, so how is that information even accurate? And we see it a lot. It's not uncommon, and that's why we like to help inform people and answer these questions so that people know what they're getting themselves into when they go to different bodies. And to each their own, like I said, if you're just looking for a quick piece of paper, sure, go to somebody else, but we can't guarantee it's going to be safe. Here's something. This is when I started learning as to why the FMEDA approach was so valuable. A quote here was saying, false trip rate is an essential design parameter for our SIS designs. How can I do this without the data? Only exida certification provides that. And you'll see here on the left side, there's two white tables. That's actually from a certificate of ours. You'll see we have Lambda SD, Lambda SU, Lambda DD, Lambda DU, which is safe detected, safe undetected, dangerous detected, and dangerous undetected. We supply all of these numbers in every single certificate. Look at the bottom right. It's almost like a bluish table. This is all that they provide. All you see is dangerous and dangerous detected, and you see a number. So this one is system capability of 3. Honestly, to an end user, it's almost useless because now they're going to have to dive into that information. They're going to have to go find it, figure out their own rates, and so that's why the information that we give. And the only reason we do this is because we listen. We have our advisory board, and they tell us what we need to do. And in summary, with those 6, you can see now and understand why we have become the world's preferred certification body, because we do demonstrate those top 6 categories, and we do them, obviously unbiased, very well. Another fun question here, as I'm wrapping up the conversation before I get to the questions, is, would I accept an IEC 61508 certification from the following organizations? Please check all that reply. Well, here we go again. Once again, yes, of course. We are #1 in the market, but look, we weren't happy with that because you can see there's other competitors that are close by, and we firmly believe it's because people don't realize what they're getting. And so we're going to continue working the way we do. We're going to continue using the tools we use. We're going to continue listening to the advisory board because why? They're putting us in the right direction, and we're slowly gaining the market share where we haven't had it previously. And the more knowledge that gets out there, the more people that can see what's going on. And we love being challenged. We absolutely love it. We just had a company come in, I think 2 weeks ago, challenging us. on the FMEDA and challenge us why our failure rates are more conservative than others, and why we would fail companies that have been passed by other certifying bodies. And we love it, and it always turns out to a great conversation. The end result's always positive, and so we do challenge people more and more because that only helps us grow. So now we get to the part with questions. Let me start filling through all the different questions that we have, and some of these questions I will be taking offline because they're kind of too hard to show or to talk about on the webinar. For example, so I know there's one individual, he's asked a few great questions, and I'm gonna have to get more information. For example, one person asked, what is an acceptable fit? That's going to be hard for me to answer without knowing the product, so I'm not going to be able to answer that one. Let me see here. I would appreciate if you could please let me know what the release date of the extra textbook is for studying for the CACECS. Great question. I'll get with our cybersecurity division and see how close they are for that book. I know that is also one that people have been waiting for to study for this exam. The best thing I could tell you to do, sir or ma'am, is to go ahead and we do have an online training that would be very, very valuable for you. That is the route I would go currently if this is something you need for your occupation or you want to grow right away. That is what I would recommend. The instructor who did it is our leading expert, Eric Pearson. Phenomenal guy. He gives the presentation. And I will, though, when I get offline, try and help you out with that as well. Okay, another question. I can probably have to learn a little bit more. I might actually email you, sir, but you asked what is the recommended MTTR and MTTF as per IEC 61508. It's going to depend on your product, your system, and anything like that. So I can't just give you a solid answer as a generic answer. I'd really have to learn a little bit more about the current system that you're using. I have a question here. Please provide some examples of the changes in the exit scheme that occurred in any given year. Great question. Actually, I didn't mean to, but I actually answered that once. I know just last year we started adding in the exit scheme, the cybersecurity portion. That was new. I'm trying to, let me see if I can go back real quick. There's some of the other changes. Well, besides the design complexity, we did the cybersecurity audit. That's new. I believe a few years ago we actually started requiring the practical proof tests. If you'd like a timeline or a history, please let me know, and I can actually share with you throughout the years how we've improved, how we've broadened, how we've changed, all in the direction of our advisory board or our end users. Okay, let's see here. All right, let me try and read through this one. This is a little longer. I may take this one also offline, but everyone I say it's offline, I'm still going to give everybody the answers to all of these questions. I just would like to do it in an email format where I can go and find resources and examples to give you a better answer than off the hip. So hi, we've recently had third-party certification by a number of parties for offshore applications. Unfortunately, they were not exida, which is okay. 3 of the 4 looked at our lifecycle documentation and passed this in accordance with IEC 61511. One of them stated IEC 61511 was not relevant as all safety falls under scope of the ATEX directive. Okay, I was wondering what extra stance was on this. Should we push for end users to use exida to assess CIS against IEC 61511, 61508? Well, what I will do for you, sir, is I'm going to put together a nice argument for you, and I will make sure I get this answered. I'm going to actually go straight to Dr. William Goebel on this one and make sure I get you the correct response. Obviously, I want to tell you, if people come to us to assess, we're the ones that, yes, we're a little bit harder, but it's going to get done right the first time. We're going to teach people along the way, and And yeah, so let me take that one again offline to help you out. But that's a great question, and I love hearing that. And like I said, we don't have to certify everything. I know people say, sorry, we didn't get certified. That's okay. We just want to make sure you get it done right the first time, though. That's when it starts becoming a problem. Or if you go through a process and you don't realize what you're getting, and some of that piece of paper, even though it says you're certified, technically it's not worth much. So let's see here. How different is ISA certification of equipment instruments from EXA certification of equipment instruments? Well, I would have to look more into depth. I'm not the person familiar with ISA, but we have committee members that sit on ISA, so I will I'll find those differences and send those right out to you. Hi, and just the last question. Looking at your last slide, the companies we use for components have used you for certification. Okay. This seems to also concern me that inspector for explosion protection states IEC 615, 11, and 08 are irrelevant. Should we push for our offshore users to use X's are very relevant for SIS prevention explosion hardware? Great question. Like I said, sir, I will put those both together and get you a suitable answer. I could tell you no. But I have a feeling that we would be able to assist there. Okay. What is the direct link between functional safety and cybersecurity? Functional safety is not cybersecurity. Okay, so sorry, I mumbled that question. What's the direct link between functional safety and cybersecurity? Well, obviously, functional safety is not cybersecurity. It's a completely different world, completely different skill set. However, we link the two from when there's a smart device, right? So if it's just a typical mechanical, let's say it's a valve, an actuator, and there's no electronics or anything, you're not going to ever think about the cybersecurity aspect of it. However, when you have a smart device that could be impeded on, hacked, someone else could take control of it, that's when you want to start looking at, and seeing how the system is and get a more robust system. If you'd like more information on the different parameters of that, we actually just did a webinar a few weeks ago on how we implement cybersecurity. And I could see if I can't share that link for you so that you can listen to that as well. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through the questions here. All right, I see here that my screen sharing has been paused. Sorry. Okay, there we go. All right, you said that at a certain level, you asked manufacturers to perform their own FMEDA. Are they really able to do so? Well, we do not. We highly do not recommend manufacturers do so. However, other certifying bodies will. They'll ask them to perform their own, and I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, they don't do it correctly because why? They don't have the skill set because they don't do it every day like we do. And so we do not recommend people do their own. However, we do have people that will, and they'll come to us saying, hey, will you review my FMEDA that we created for our product? And yeah, we do. We do have a few customers like that. We just don't recommend it because the amount of time that they spend doing it, we can do it far quicker only because this is what we do every day. And so yeah, so sorry if I made that confusing. I have a couple questions that are coming in. If you know, they're more a specific question for just. It's not really a broad question. It's for like a specific piece of equipment. I'm gonna pass on all those and kind of answer those all offline, so you know I'm not ignoring that question. There was an earlier part 1 webinar where you include the questions asked in that as well. Absolutely. That is no problem. I'll go ahead and with this PDF that I'm creating, I'll include all first session questions, all second session questions, and I'll send it out to everybody that not only just attended, but even those that did not attend. I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of those questions and a link to the webinar. We'll get this recorded, and then also the slides as well. I'll make sure you guys get a copy of these as well. And I see another one here. I won't forget to share the link of the implementation of cybersecurity as well. I will not forget that. Thanks for the reminder. All right, let's see here. Sorry, just one more thing as I scroll through. Okay, perfect. The rest of the questions, if you don't mind, I will, let me see. Okay, no problem. Sorry, I just got another question. I will go ahead, send everything else offline. Great questions. I see a lot of great ones I can't wait to answer when I get off the call here. But I do truly appreciate everyone getting on this call. If you have more questions, if they're just simply questions that you have thoughts about, want to learn more about, send them my way. I'll get them answered for you as quickly as I can, and we'll go from there. Thanks again, everybody. I appreciate your time and consideration in joining today's webinar. Look forward to doing more in the future. Take care for now, everybody. Thank you again.